Hi, I'm Kongman.
쉽게 생각했나 봐.
Hello. Happy Tuesday. How is everyone? Hello, hello. Who's in the chat? We have Norse Bola. Peachy's in the chat. Hey, Peachy, how are you? How are you? How are you? Welcome, welcome. Narganol in the chat. What's up? Got Manny Rodriguez. Long time no see. Hope all's good in the hood with you. Hope all's good in the hood with you. It's been a while. Timpy Gunita, what's up? First time chat. How you doing, Timpy? And there it is. The tier one or the prime sub. Thank you so much. So much, Timpy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Where's my sound? Oh, there it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate the love. Thank you so much, Timpy. How you doing? How you doing? We also got Jiyun in the chat. What's up? It is a good Tuesday. Hello, doing really good. Hope you're doing well, Kongmin. I'm doing much better now. Just in a much better place spiritually, much better place mentally and emotionally. The past couple of months, and again, yesterday I realized it's been 6 months. It's been 6 months since I streamed. Yeah, it's been 6 months. It's been half a year, but in those 6 months, it was a really good season for me. Just of God stripping down all of my pride and a lot of my self-confidence and really learning more and more to submit to him. So it's been really good. Timpy, no problem. Discovery from Franco TV, so I'm here. Awesome. Franco's a great guy. He's young and he's learning, but love that guy. So much fun to hang out with. Very solid Christian, really loves the Lord and loves the truth and just wants to get that out there, so he's a good guy. Awesome, Timpy. Thanks so much for being here. Are you Catholic? Are you Catholic? We love Catholics here. We have tons of Catholics on the stream, in the chat, all the time. We love Catholics. Although I myself, I am not Catholic, but we love Catholics. Went to a spiritual school this past weekend, got rid of all my baggage. Yes, God is so good. And it's like when you really give that all to God and submit all that at the feet of God, it's so freeing because he takes that and he redeems it, right? God is the greatest redeemer and he really uplifts us from our trials and our struggles, and through our suffering he molds us. So God is a good God. Yet good insights too on your video from there. So yep. Yeah. Yes, I am. But hey, we have own. That's what Catholics always tell me, Timpa. We all have our own journeys with the Lord. Just like, oh, you'll get there. You'll get there. Because like in a lot of my politics and a lot of my beliefs, I love like Catholicism, because I just really value tradition, and I think so much of American evangelicalism has, through the fruit of liberalism, intentionally run away from tradition, not knowing that tradition was there, not only set by Christ and the church fathers, but it was there for many, 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 many centuries for Christians. And I think there is truth and there is goodness and there's merit in that. There's a quote that I always say, I said this in my speech in Korea, that tradition is a set of solutions for which we forgot the problems. So it's not old school so much insofar as their solutions and their guardrails that have existed for generations upon generations, because it's a solution for a very severe problem. When you just think about family, when you think about men and women, when you think about just order in society, there's a reason why it's there. So yes, Peachy, yes. He's not a God who goes back on his word. Yes, 100%. God is a God who fulfills his promises, And, I really hold on to the promises of Romans 8:28 these days, that he's working all things for good for those who love him. All things for good for those who love him according to his purpose. And he is working all things for good for us, but a lot of times we do have to go through suffering and we have to go through hardship in order to fully feel the grace of God and depend on him and grow in our character as men and women of God. Oh, let's go. Slick Rick's here. What's up? Yes, that's good. I'm glad Twitch is working a lot better. It's easy to forget about tradition when everything is good and comfortable. Yes, 100%. This generation suffers from uh it's like an abundance of indulgence and pleasure. It's not, this generation doesn't suffer from a lack of. This is where liberals are completely wrong. They always talk about lack of healthcare, lack of education, and all of these amenities. That's the cause of depression and people having, a lot of unaliving tendencies and all those things, and a lot of disorder and chaos. But that's not, those are privileges and those are luxuries and those are blessings, but they're not essentials, because people in the past have lived much more fulfilling lives with much less. Why is that? That's something we have to ponder. Manny Rodriguez, thank you so much. Read a Bible verse. Manny, which Bible verse would you like me to read? Which Bible verse? Please pick the Bible verse and I shall read it. Timpy, in my perspective, with so many Christian diversity now, it's definitely a different approach on how to evangelize, spread the gospel than it was back in the day. But nonetheless, the Holy Spirit works differently on each person and to each of their own challenges. It's just part of the human conditions, pain and suffering, I guess. Yeah, and that's the biggest problem I have with Protestantism in, like, broadly speaking, in that, like, there's so many denominations, but because people would just want to interpret scripture their own way. And, as a Protestant, once I realized that, I was like, oh, that is kind of a problem, because Jesus' desire is, like, in John 17, that the church would be one, like the Father and the Son are one. Like, he always talks about how, like, the world will know that Christ is Lord through the way that we love each other and through our unity, right? It's through the unity of the body where the world will come to know. The church is the hands and feet of Jesus on earth. And we are the vehicle, we are the vessels by which God brings his kingdom here on earth. Now, if we're all separated and if we're always debating theology all day, then we're just divided and we're not united. And so that's where, for me, like, I'm a lot more ecumenical these days. Obviously, there are essential doctrines and primary doctrines we can't compromise on, namely the Trinity, what constitutes sin, things like that. But I think for, like, other things, like, it's so much more important to be ecumenical and have unity right now, especially the times that we're living in. Yes, 100% Peachy. It's abundance of self. We've dove deep into the flesh. Yeah, yeah, and so people don't suffer from a lack of. They suffer from, well, they definitely suffer from a lack of, but they suffer from a lack of spiritual necessities and, like, human necessities insofar as, like, family, connection, community. They don't suffer from things like shelter, water, food, things like that. And so, all right, Manny, read James 4:6. James 4:6. I'm reading from the NIV. But he gives us more grace. That is why scripture says, God opposes the proud, but shows favor to the humble. Amen. God hates pride. In all things, even when we're navigating contentious issues and in politics and in our culture war, and when you're speaking to people you disagree with, always exercise humility. And that is a active action, right? It's something you have to do. You have to humble yourself before the Lord, and you have to consider others more important than yourself. And so, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Manny Rodriguez. Yes, Slick Rick, the devil rejoices when Christians bicker and condemn each other, because yeah, he loves that. He loves division within the body, insofar as, like, obviously Jesus said he came not to bring peace but a sword, but it's a division between good and evil, right and wrong, truth and lies. It's not a division between the body of Christ. And now, obviously, you have to separate the wheat from the chaff. And so you have to be able to identify those who are not living truly for God and in the Spirit. But it's like, I feel like it's such, like, I see this on Christian Twitter all the time, and I get so annoyed because, like, Allie Beth Stuckey was completely slammed this past weekend for what she said at a conference, and it was like the most milquetoast thing she said, insofar as like the homemaking aesthetic, the trad aesthetic. You don't have to own a farm essentially to be a biblical, good, godly wife, which is true. But then people were saying like, "Oh, you're such a feminist," and then that was like, Allie Beth Stuckey is like not a feminist at all. Now, and it's like you don't even like, and it's like for her, like what she does when she's doing her podcast and all that stuff, it only takes up a very small fraction of her day. Most of her day is in the home with her kids. People don't know that. People just think because she's this public facing person that she's always like, constantly out of the home. No, she's always in the home. She only like records like episodes like maybe like for an hour a day, and then she's at home with the kids. And so it's yeah. Oh, we got Lexi in the chat. What's up? How does one get Pokemon? No, you're here. If you're watching, if you're in the chat, if you're watching the stream, then you will be a Pokemon. You're the seal, Alexa. You're the seal. That's lit. See, you're the seal, and like the chat shows up too. Oh my, was that the Trenton White debate? I don't know. I actually want to watch it because I know James White debates Catholics a lot. I think he debated Trent Horn, right? But I need to watch. I'm still learning. I'm still, but right now I really want to get deeper. I want to go deeper. I really want to read. I really want to dive into the Word of God, church history, theology, because it's so important. Like the truth is so important. Because what else matters when it comes to knowledge than knowing the truth? Because you can know what's going on in the world, and that's important too, but then the most important thing is to be able to have wisdom, and that comes with understanding like political philosophy and theology, which political philosophy is essentially theology applied, right? And so where does theology come from? And that is the question, right? And so what is truly what God has decreed and designed for the church and for the body of Christ and for us Christians living on this side of eternity? Very, very important. And I wish Christians would take that a lot more seriously, because so many Christians claim to care about the truth when all they do is cave to modern left-wing sensibilities all the time. Paratool, what's up? Apparently got anonymously gifted a sub yesterday, so thanks whoever that was. And also, hello, how are you? Yeah, there was an anonymous gifter yesterday who gifted like 10 subs. It was crazy. So thank you again. If you're out there watching, anonymous gifter, thank you. Wise Disciples is an awesome YouTube channel where he's a Christian debate teacher evaluating big debates. I might have to watch him. Wise Disciple? Wise Disciple. Oh, he has 100,000 followers on subscribers. Oh, this guy. I've seen this guy. I've seen this guy. I'll check it. I'll check his stuff out later. Yeah, for sure. All right. Guys, I can't wait to make more content for you guys, because I have so many things, and I just feel like all these things that I'm saying right now, like that's a message I need to get out in short form content because streaming, honestly, it just doesn't have as much reach. But then if I'm making short form content, then I can actually get it out there, Na, 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 na. Peachy, I started playing Honkai Star Rail and I love it. Try to get back into Genshin, but I can't. Okay, I see. Yeah, there's a lot of people. I mean, there's a few people who stopped playing Honkai, because, yeah, just a MiHoYo fatigue. But yeah, Genshin fatigue is real. I didn't play Genshin for 6 months, and I got back into it like last week. Timpy, yeah, I think you got your information. It was just from a clip from the founders conference. I forgot who exactly holds that conference, but she was just talking about like, biblical wife versus trad wife, and I think for the most part, like 90%, there's a big overlap between like trad wife and biblical wife. But a lot of it comes down to like a lot of people kind of like see the trad life as fetishizing like 1950s, 1940s homemaking. And if you're not doing that, then you're not being a biblical wife. And that's just not true. But um at the same time, like there is merit in that, like, the Bible is very clear that women are called to the home. That's their primary calling, and to be a mother and to take care of their children. Now, it's also fathers' role to take care of their children too, which is why the Industrial Revolution was a complete mistake, because for the first time in not only in American history but world history, like aside from wars, right? Because wars obviously always strip men from their homes. It was the first time in everyday life where men were stripped from their children and their wives for most of the day and most of their lives, honestly, most of their working life. And then so sons were disillusioned and had an identity crisis because they didn't have a father to look up to, and didn't have a father to teach them how to be a man. And so, it's not just feminism that's the problem for families today. It's the Industrial Revolution, which is why COVID was actually a really good thing. Like, that sounds terrible to say, but there's a silver lining in COVID, in that like the work from home model actually started to correct a lot of the wrongs from the Industrial Revolution, because fathers can be at home with the kids more, right? Especially because fathers need to be there, not just for their sons, but for their daughters, because it's a meme and it's a trope at this point, but daughters who don't have a good father figure or are fatherless, right? They grow up and do OnlyFans and all the other stuff. And it's true, because daughters need the security and the love of their father so that they're secure and they value themselves and they can live with dignity and integrity. But yeah, so fathers are so important. It's so understated how important fathers are. And if like you have to understand, like, not only that fathers are important, but why they're important. And only a father can teach a son how to be a man. And only a father can teach a daughter, like, what it's like to have a godly, good man take care of her, right? So then, in both instances, their standard is higher. Now, obviously, there's there's a specific role for the mother as well, especially for the daughter, to teach them how to be a godly, good wife. But fathers are so important. I think fatherlessness is just so rampant. I think in America has the highest rates of fatherlessness in the entire modern world, if I remember correctly, and it's very sad. See you, Nagano. Thanks for tuning in. Oh yes, 100%. Peachy, what you said there with Alex Clark had an episode on the biblical family and how we let corporations take over our families, which is why the 50s family style is way off base, actually. Yes, like we have to go back. It's so funny when like politicians or people on the internet say, all these conservatives and these Christians want to take us back 200 years. I'm like, yeah. like, like by the time the 50s and the 60s, even like after World War II rolled around, like it was already a mistake, because fathers were not home most of the time. Like we have to go back, like in terms of like, obviously I'm not saying go back like 200 years in terms of like because if we went back 200 years in terms of like racial politics, then I wouldn't be able to speak right now. But I'm talking about like family formation and lifestyle. Yes, absolutely. Fathers should be at the home, be in the home, and present with their kids. It's not just the woman's responsibility. Now, it's the home, making the home and tending to the home is the woman's primary responsibility, right? But the man has to be there. The father has to be there. You're the spiritual anchor and the leader of the family. The father has to be there 100%. Like, there's this idea that, like, in this generation, it's both parents are so eager to work all the time and build a career for themselves, so they're never there for their kids, and the strangers are raising their kids. And then they're so eager to chase the kid out of the home. By the time they're 18, it's like, get out, because you should be alone. It's like, what? Wait, that's so backwards. Like, families are supposed to stick together. Like, what the heck is the point of a family if you're all separated and never with each other? It's ridiculous. Yes, 100%. Parrot 2. I've been very interested. I love Nancy Pearcey. Nancy Pearcey's work is great. You know, her book Love Thy Body, and her book talking about fatherhood and masculinity. I haven't read it, but I've seen excerpts and parts of it. But her tweets are fire. Like, she really understands a lot of the problems when it comes to identity issues and transgenderism and fatherlessness and masculinity. Like, these things are very, very important. And you know, these are stuff that, like, I just wish more people would understand. Like, it is not a good thing to, when you're an adult now, to just move away from your home and just be apart from your family the whole time. It's actually a good thing to be with your family. Yes, 100%. Slick Rick. Parents were intended to, I can't see the full message. Oh, intended to, by God, to be a reflection of his love. Without parental love, there is a huge void that makes people more open to sin. Yes, of course. There's a quote that I saw, I think Nancy Pearcey said, that God is a father, right? He reveals himself as a father. But then how damaging it is that the prototype of the divine is absent from the family for most of the week. Think about that. Then obviously your view of God's going to be completely broken. Like, God's design for the family was that you would understand his love and his character through the character of the father, right? And so if the father is good and godly, then the family would be intact. Manny Rodriguez, hey, Kangmin, what are your thoughts on those who are on the extreme sides of the political spectrum, both left and right wing? I think it depends, because it really comes down to semantics, you know? It's like when I say I'm a conservative, people think that, like, I'm like free market capitalism all the way. Like, I'm not. I actually don't like capitalism all so much. I like free enterprise and free markets, and I have private property and things like that, but I think the government has a vested interest and should have a vested interest in regulating commerce. And so, yeah. So they'll say, like, you're selfish for thinking you shouldn't have universal health care. I actually think universal health care can work, but you have to first have a just and moral society and people. Without that, people are going to abuse the system, and it's just going to go all out of control. Because, like, I think with capitalism, right? If profit is the only motivating factor in doing good and producing goods and services for people, then it just becomes greed, like uncontrolled greed. And so I think there should be regulations and guardrails set by the government and by laws and regulations that prohibit that as much as possible and curb that kind of behavior as much as possible. So, but then, like, if you just give everything to the government, then it's like people get lazy, right? If you just have a complete mass distribution of wealth, then people get lazy, right? So it's about prudence. It's about prudence. But, you know, like, I'm open to social welfare programs, but I'm just not open to it on a federal level. I'm more open to it on a localized level, because local governments know their communities better. But it's like when I say a conservative, people don't understand that, and then they're like, "Oh, like, aren't you like a Reaganite?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I actually don't think Reagan is a great person. Like, I don't think he I think a lot of his policies were disastrous for America. I'm not a libertarian. I'm a conservative, and things like that. So when it comes to the far left, far right, obviously, I don't really like both extremes, of course, but it really depends on what extremes you're talking about. But obviously, when you think about the left, extreme left, it's like people who are, like, completely unhinged. But a lot of people who tend to be super, like, far right, because, like, for me, like, let's say, for example, like, I say I want to go back 200 years in terms of, like, the way that people live their lives, right? It's like people will call me far right, but, like, what does that even mean? Alt right, far right, what does that mean? Like, for me, it's because I care about families and families sticking together. Right? So it's like, I don't even know at this point. But when it comes to extremes, I think it really comes down to character. I think that's the biggest thing, because, like things that you see extremely like with the far right and far left is like people who are very unhinged, very unstable, and chaotic and disordered in nature. And I think that's a bigger problem more so than what they actually believe. It's their character. Because I believe if you have good character, then you'll have a good head on your shoulders. You'll be sober minded. You'll be level headed, and you'll be renewing your mind, right? And so you wouldn't be so quick to destroy people's lives and be really nasty to people for no reason, right? So that's kind of my thoughts. I don't know if that's like a milk toast answer, but it just really depends, like case by case. Yeah. Sorry, I'm still talking so much. No. Let's see. Peachy, let me catch up on chat. We also push the kids to grow up too fast and figure out life on their own the minute they're 18. That episode is very polarizing. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's like, what the heck? Like, kids are not supposed to figure it out. The parents are supposed to teach the kids and show the kids. And a lesson is failure is absolutely a lesson, right? But then from that failure, the parents have to teach the kids how to handle failure, right? It's like, but it's like, it's just like that's the boomer's fault. Like 100% the boomer's fault. Boomer's like, just get out, you ungrateful brats. You go make a life for yourself. It's like you're supposed to teach your kids how to do that, and you're supposed to guide your kids and help your kids. Lexi, okay, love to see you always talk about these things. Got to balance. Also, you should come to YWAM refresh. Oh, I miss YWAM. All right, it was nice seeing you, man. Timpy, speaking of political economic system, Kangmin, have you read a document called Rerum Novarum? No, I haven't. Rerum Novarum? Is that Latin? It sounds Latin. It's by Pope Leo the 13th. I'll have to check it out later. Timpy, what does it say? What does the document say, essentially? Can you summarize it for me? Yeah, Slick Rick, I agree. I've been identifying less as conservative less and less, not so much because of policy, but because of the kinds of people that call themselves conservative these days. Seems like conservatives care less about what the Bible says and more about how to antagonize liberals. Yes, 100%. It's about how to own the libs, right? And I think there's a time and place to own the libs, especially what they're saying is like completely blasphemous and harmful and destructive and so silly that I think, you know, satire and comedy are very important, powerful tools, but it's just the whole personality for so many so-called conservatives are just to attack people. It's like even today I saw a video going viral of women dancing and they're like, this is why people hate Western women. I was like, I don't really see anything wrong with it. They're just dancing and having a good time. And it's not even like they're like completely degenerate in their dancing, and they're not like, you know, doing substances and drinking. It was just them dancing. So I don't know. Didn't most not like Reagan? I mean, most people in the 80s loved Reagan. That's why he won by 49 states. He won 49 states except for Minnesota. But yeah, Reaganomics did ruin us. Yeah, 100%. Free trade and open borders and amnesty and yeah. Yes, Peachy, 100%. The Christianity has to be the bedrock and the cornerstone of this country. If it's not, there's no future for it. There is no, because that's how the system of self-governance was applied, right? It was entrusted to a moral and religious people. Manny, of course, I meant on those who are very unhinged. Yeah. And that's the kind of people that typically characterize like far left, far right. Now, obviously, you have like crazy people in the media and journalists who say like, if you believe that America was a Christian nation at the start, you're a Christian nationalist. It's like, dude, it's just history. It was a Christian nation at the start. You can disagree with that in terms of like you don't think that's right, but you can't disagree with the truth in that it was a Christian nation at its founding. Yeah, I think it's worth a read. It's about the dignity of the human being and the importance of work being at the service of people and not the other way around. Yes, it seems like you're talking about it when you mention capitalism. Capitalism should be used as ways to service other people, not for selfish reasons. Exactly. And that's why it's like economic systems can be argued, right? Like if you want to vote for a certain party, for a certain politician, because they want this economic policy, and you think that's the best way to serve others, like, okay, like I can concede that, or understand it, or have a conversation to understand where you're coming from. What I cannot have is you voting for a politician who promises to enshrine baby murder into law. It's like, dude, like, seriously? Oh, like, both parties suck. Yes, both parties suck, but one party's trying to kill babies and make everyone confused and polyamorous, and yeah, like, it's like there's no moral equivalency. Like, I don't like both parties either as a Christian. Like, it's just my allegiance is first and foremost to Christ when it comes to even to my politics, but there's clearly one party that represents, natural, good, ordered loves first, like, better. And then that's obviously Republicans versus more so than Democrats. Now, I've met some like people who are Democrats who are like very well intentioned, but at the point, like, overarchingly, like, overall, the platform, the Democratic platform, it's like it's very set in stone what they believe. Yeah. The document was from 1981, so way before World War I and started socialism too. Yeah, I mean, socialism started to, when was wasn't Marx, like, wasn't he? He was writing stuff in the late 1800s, no? And then it just picked up in the early 1900s, right? Let me see, Karl Marx. Yeah, so he was born in the early 1800s, and he most of his work was written towards the mid to late 1800s. But either way, like, yeah, socialism's not the answer for sure, but yeah, like, all things when it comes to economics, it should be like, it should uplift the spirit, should orient people towards God, and help people serve others well, right? And if you have unhinged capitalism and like laissez-faire capitalism, then people will take advantage of each other so easily. And a lot of libertarians say, "Oh, but the government already takes advantage of us too." Yeah, that's a problem. But then the solution isn't to like allow people to just do whatever they want. Gotta go eat with my parents. So I'll try to pop by and head out to church. Awesome. Tuesday church. Interesting. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, Peachy. Appreciate ya. Yeah. Ebola, Norse Ebola. Both parties have their problems, but if the choice is child murder, the choice is obvious. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, my first priority when it comes to like political, like not even philosophy, but just like policy, is, do you allow people to live? Right? It's like, first and foremost, like, do you allow people to live? And it's like, if you're enshrining murder into law, then I'm like, no, because these are souls. These are eternal souls, and they need the chance to live. But you're killing a million of them every year. Well, I'm gonna be against that. Like, life is first and foremost for me. And then for me, secondly, is family. And in that, because like for me, it's like, well, obviously, like, first and foremost is God, right? So God informs all of my politics, and Christianity, my faith, informs all of my politics. But when it comes to like legislation per se, and like political matters and policy, like just anything like that, stances, yeah, it's I think comes from life first, and then family, and that's my priority. Like economy is, like, GDP, all that stuff is secondary to all of those, but first, foremost, life, then it's family. Yeah. Yes. Yes, Slick Rick. That's the best way to put it. Capitalism should be a force to help people have financial autonomy and make a living for themselves. So, like, yeah, private property, for example, right? Like, you own your own stuff. I mean, it's not only biblical, but that's just like, I feel like common sense. Like, you own your own stuff. But But yeah, but like it obviously, if it's unchecked and if it's unfettered, then it turns into something where corporations completely just take over everything. And that's what you see right now. Like Disney's merging with everyone, and all these mega multinational corporations are completely destroying all of competition, you know, and eating up all companies. And you see this in pharmaceuticals too. I worked in pharmaceuticals. Every time a pharmaceutical startup starts, it's like a bigger company just eats it up and acquires it. And then both parties are happy, sure, because like the CEO of the startup like gets a crap ton of money, and then the big corporation acquires all their assets and IP. But then it's like, what happens as a net result in society? It's that like there's a few pharmaceutical corporations that control all of the supply chain for medicine and medical devices, and it's like, okay, like this is not good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pro-abortion policy thrives through lies. Yes, absolutely. That's why they hate when you get ultrasounds, because once a woman sees an ultrasound, they're like almost every single time not they don't want to kill their baby, because they see that it's their baby, it's their child. Have you ever listened to Karlin Borisenko? Oh yeah, she's kind of wacko. The wacko girl, the wacko liberal, the anti-woke liberal. I think she blocked me. What about her? Disney's losing so bad they need to acquire something to make money. Yeah, I don't know how Disney's just not sustainable at this point. I don't know what they're gonna do. Like they just keep losing money. Lol, I think Parks and Rec did that satire, but eventually there'll be only 3 conglomerate companies in the whole world. Yeah, and this again, this is where government needs to come in and put down the hammer and say regulations. Like nope, like antitrust, boom, break up, because yeah, it's that's what it needs. Or else people are selfish. Did their Epic Games acquisition? They acquired Epic Games? I thought they just partnered with Epic Games. They like invested a crap ton of money into Epic Games where they do like a collaboration. So there's gonna be a huge like Fortnite Disney collab. Back onto the topic of the family. What about those who have abusive family members? What would be the best way for them to deal with it? It has to be the church and local community, right? Because then if you have a local community and a church that you can confide in, then you can seek refuge in there, right? And then you can find adoptive parents, and you can, you know, find safety and security in those who will actually love you and treat you right. But again, like that's a generational thing. Like a lot of people are abusive because of generational trauma that like built up, and they never got healing from it, and they were never delivered from it, right? So like the solution is still the family, but it's like obviously there are exceptions where we have to allow for children to find refuge aside from their abusive family members. But right now, the trend of culture right now is going towards so that like legislators and the establishment are saying, for example, if parents don't affirm their children's pronouns, they're abusive, which is ridiculous, completely ridiculous, right? So this is why, again, like even when it comes to what constitutes abuse, it has to be from a traditional Christian standpoint of like, you know, domestic violence and manipulation and things like that. Like those are the things that constitute abuse, not things like affirming, like not affirming their whatever identity they want to live as, because that's delusion, and affirming the lies and delusions is actually very harmful to the kids. So even a lot of well-meaning, you know, agnostics and atheists and non-Christians who live in America, they don't understand that we're living like the belief system that they hold. It is really are the vestiges of the Christian inheritance, the Christian American inheritance. Like they believe, for example, you should love thy neighbor and like treat others how you want to be treated, for example, because Jesus said so, right? They have no standing by which to make those claims other than the word of God. But they don't realize that. They just kind of grew up in America, and so, but like people have to realize, like, oh, like it is Christian morality that compelled this country and all that undergirded all the laws in this country, and it has to be Christianity, or else it's like pluralism does not work, because you can't live in a society where everyone disagrees with each other and has a different moral compass. It just doesn't work. Like at that point, you're not a nation. You're just different people inhabiting the same land. And it's like there's no point in having a nation at that point. No. It was like 1.6 mil, so they own like 10%. Oh, they own 10% of Epic. Makes sense. Epic Games makes so much money every year, so not a bad investment. Carlin is kind of unpleasant, but I feel like she means well as far as her journalism. She dives deep into what the woke agenda is in practical terms, like infiltrating their meetings to show what they're doing in school. Oh, she still does that? That's good. She has me blocked. I forgot why, but she blocked me, so it is what it is. I don't know why she blocked me. I don't. It's okay, though. It is what it is. Back in my day, parents slapped their kids to be disciplined. Now kids to have more entitlement to the point they have no discipline. I wouldn't slap kids. That's abusive. Like I would say, like slapping someone in the face, like especially your kid, that's traumatizing, especially if they're really young. You know, it's like that's now like I think spanking is fine, like in the butt is fine, but then like never in the head, never anywhere else. Maybe like traditional Korean spanking was like taking a piece of wood and like hitting like your calves. But it's like nowhere like the face and the head, right? Or like the gut front area. Like these are all like very emotionally sensitive areas, right? And so for you to smack someone or punch someone is like, as a parent, that is abuse, 100%. There's no way. I'll slap in the wrist. Okay, yeah, slap on the wrist, that's fine. Yeah, slap on the wrist is fine. But anywhere like head and like front body, that's abuse. Like there's no justification for a parent to do that to their kid whatsoever, right? And parents should never ever discipline their kids or spank their kids when they're angry. Never. Because parents are people too, and so they can lose their temper, and you should never associate children should never be associating discipline with parents being angry. That's so unhealthy and traumatic for the child. So anyways, parenting tips there. I'm not a parent, but I just kind of know these things. I've been looking into it these days because I'm very interested, and I desire to be a good father. It's gonna be like Lego, where it's a different mode. Oh, really? It's like a Disney mode. We'll see how it is. She said typical conservatives have too small view of Marxism, not able to effectively fight against it. I agree with that to an extent. I do too, but like typical liberal stance is like, you know, fighting against it with the free marketplace of ideas. I just don't think the free marketplace of ideas matters at all. It's about messaging, and grit, and laws. Like that. Those are the three things that matter. Like you think Trump won with the free marketplace of ideas in 2016? No, he was just saying things like build the wall, deport them, the forgotten Americans. I will remember you. I'll bring jobs back. It's like, oh, that sounds great. And a lot of disenfranchised Americans were like, I like that. It wasn't like he was having these really big, complicated debates about political philosophy with people on stage. He was saying, I'm going to lock up Hillary Clinton and Jeb Bush is a crony. People loved it, right? The reason why Barack Obama won, too, is just his change. Like, his motto is for change. And he's charismatic, but it's not like he's smart, like, in terms of, like, he doesn't know deeply about political philosophy, in my opinion. His competition in, I think it was 2004, Alan Bard. I don't know if you guys saw that clip about same-sex marriage, but he destroyed Barack Obama. But like, yeah, he lost because Barack Obama was more charismatic and he had more effective messaging. And also, like, a lot of the things, like, for example, same-sex unions, like, most Americans were like apathetic about it or kind of like disapproved of it before 2015. And then because of Obergefell, now most Americans accept it, right? So it's like, it's about laws. It's about like just pushing your messaging through and having good messaging. It's not really about debating the free marketplace of ideas. And it's like, no, because most average Americans are not thinking deeply about politics. Paratool, thank you for tuning in. God bless you as well. Have a good one. I love to stay, but I gotta go too. All right, see ya, Tempe. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. Alan Keyes, thank you. Yeah, Alan Keyes. Yes, thank you, Slick Rick. Yeah, Trump was also the only one to hide and pretend. That's why people like him, because he just kind of says whatever's on his mind, which is refreshing because politicians always play these games, right? Yeah, I used to hate Trump, but that was because the media just said all, everything, just like lied to us all the time. Hilarious guy though. He's hilarious and so charismatic. You guys ever been to like a Trump rally or like a room when Trump is there? He just commands the room and commands the crowd. Like he is like a once in a generation like charismatic talent. That guy is so like captivating. Like if you take away like it's easy to be angry at him and like scream about him on the internet, but then when you're in person with him, it's like he's so likable and he's so charismatic. It's like it's hard to. It's hard to. I think people just relate because he doesn't try to be professional. I mean, he does, right? Like he wears a suit, a black suit with a white collared dress shirt with a red tie everywhere he goes, right? I think that's why people like him. Not because of his lack of professionalism, but his authenticity where he doesn't change who he is depending on who he's talking to, right? So you see most politicians whenever they go to rural parts of America, they start wearing like, checkered plaid shirts and like jeans and things like that. And then when they're like in front of like more corporate type people, they dress all like clean. Trump is always in his suit, his shirt, his red tie, everywhere he goes, and he speaks to people honestly. That's why people like him. And he's professional, and in certain regards, he's not professional in like the traditional Washington D.C. sense, but he's professional in that he presents himself like strong, upright, and like clean. He's always dressed clean. Yeah. All right. We're gonna play some Genshin. I have to go to volleyball practice in an hour, so we're just gonna play a bit and then. Yeah. He's not the typical professional. Yes, absolutely. Well, he's not the typical Washington, D.C. professional. He's like, he was a successful businessman because he was very professional, right? In many regards. But not like, because like professional in American politics, a lot of it just means like being really crony, being fake, disingenuous, slimy, right? That's like typical Washington, D.C. politics and American politics. Trump isn't that, which is why people love him. Most people who hate Trump is because they see him as the archetypal tyrannical boss. Yeah. But I think a lot of it just comes down to it's because people tell people, like the media and culture warriors and social media influencers, celebrities all tell people to hate him. They don't actually know why they hate him, I guarantee you most people who say they hate Trump, if Trump was in a room, they would want his signature. Like, I guarantee it. Like, none of them are going to be like, I hate you, Trump. Yeah. I guarantee it. Exactly, yeah. Because, again, yeah, he was loved by everyone. He was loved by rappers. He was loved by artists. He was loved by celebrities. I mean, he was huge. He was in movies. He was in shows, variety shows. He was everywhere. And then he ran, and then he said things that like actually mattered to America and mattered to Americans. And then people started to hate him because, yeah, the establishment hated him. Now, I'm not saying he's a perfect guy. There's so many things I don't like about him for sure. But it's like you can't deny that he is a very charismatic guy and a very charming guy, and he knows what he's doing. Especially so huge. Yeah, he's so tall. Did you see Baron Trump? That guy's humongous. He's like 6'8" or something. It's like huge. Alright, what should I get? The mass destruction statement. Yeah, exactly. So, he's definitely going to be the GOP nominee. Like, there's no way around it. And so I think it's gonna be Trump versus probably Biden if he's like. Oh no. Probably we need. Yeah, I can't use this team. It's gonna be probably Trump versus Biden. Unless like Biden like something like happens to Biden. Champagne Future, welcome back, Hongmin. Thank you. Oh, anonymous gifter just gifted Peachy a tier 1 sub. Thank you so much, anonymous gifter. Thank you. Really appreciate it. But yeah, Champagne Future, how are you? How you doing? Hope you're doing well. And they just gifted Yayu a tier 1 sub too. Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you, anonymous gifter. Who are you? I want to like thank you, like and like shout you out. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Oh my gosh, another one for Naganal? Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, anonymous gifter. Who are you? Oh my gosh. Thank you. Really appreciate you. God bless you. I need to use my Prime sub, but it takes like 10 minutes to do so on mobile. Oh, no worries. Take your time. I'm just glad you're here, Champagne. Oh gosh, ow. I'm good. Went for a walk and was dodging lightning. Whoa, lightning? Is it raining? Today, like where I'm at right now, it's like really warm today. So I'm like happy for the weather. Oh, I need to use the how do I change the gadgets? Which one's the? Oh, there it is. The Lumen Stone. There you go. It was so loud, it was concussive. That's crazy. Yeah. Where are you, Champagne? Like, are you in like the Midwest or are you in like the East Coast? What the heck? Oh, it just blacked out for a second. Yeah, Vivek is great. I love Vivek. Because he was just saying things that are so unpopular. Not only like to those who are left of him, but like even like to the mainstream like establishment GOP. He was saying things like no one would dare say. About immigration, about voting, just like great stuff. And it was really speaking to the American people. He had probably the most grassroots support other than Trump. Like definitely Nikki Haley is not having grassroots support. Only like crony people like her. Toronto, I see. Crazy, brave, intelligent, articulate. Yeah, he's probably one of the smartest people who's run for president, like on the Republican Party. Like it'd be really good for Trump to have Vivek by his side when Trump becomes president again, or if Trump becomes president again, because they're really trying so hard to not have him become president again, not like to disqualify him from running, but. Vivek would be really good to have next to Trump's side. Shine bright like a diamond. Oh yeah, she lost to none of the above. Was that in Nevada or Utah? I forgot where it was. It's so it's so embarrassing.
커져라.
Oh, Jiyoon. What's up? What's up? Back on the Genshin grind. Yeah, we're just playing Genshin. Just keeping it casual today. He would be such a hilarious contrast to Kamala. Yeah, because Kamala is also South Asian, right? She's her mother's Indian, right? And so like the two Indians going at it. It's like him as vice president and her as vice president. Like she'd get smoked. Imagine a debate between Vivek and Kamala Harris. She'd get wrecked. He understood that you didn't have to kiss the ring. Yeah, 100%. Dude, that's what I really didn't like about Trump. Like Trump was like attacking Vivek on Truth Social when Vivek was all he was doing was supporting Trump. And then now they're good now after he like stepped down from running, but like Trump's ego, it's like it's both a weapon and his greatest weakness in my opinion. It's like both his greatest strength but also his greatest weakness because he kind of just does whatever he wants, but at the same time like he does things that are so like detrimental to his reputation and self-image. Complete light chasing challenge. Okay. I gotta catch up and touch the strange light. Okay. There's one clip that came out with Vivek that was fishy. What was it?
전부 다 보인다고. 금방 따라갈게요.
Trump will attack anyone who sees as a rival. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. He's disloyal to people when he demands total loyalty, and that's such like a terrible character trait, you know? It's such a terrible character flaw, like honestly speaking. He overdoes the alpha behavior. Yeah, absolutely. Well, like that's what makes him like fit to be the president in these times. And what I mean by that is that like he will do whatever it takes to get his agenda through. And I think for the most part his agenda is actually very beneficial to Americans and America as a whole. Territorialism is a toxic alpha trait. Alpha males. It's so funny to see the emergence of a lot of these alpha males, these alpha male influencers, and I'm like, yeah, you're so alpha. I wish I could be as alpha as you, man. Wow. You're so cool. You're so masculine. Most of the time when he attacks someone, it turned out to be accurate. Like, for example, like what? Like what, though?
다음으로 해야 할 일은
Like, for example, when he attacked Ron DeSantis, like, I don't think Ron DeSantis was, like, really, like, Ron DeSanctimonious, but, like, he was just, his political advisors and his decision to run right now is just so stupid. And, like, what he did on his campaign was stupid, but, like, I think Ron DeSantis himself is a good man. He's a much better family man, a much better Christian man than Trump in his lifestyle. I just don't think he just was stupid in terms of like politics, because he like I don't even think his like governing like when he governs well. Like he governed Florida very, very well, but it's like, yeah. I know what you mean by his logic makes sense. He was arguing that Trump was going to be prevented from running, so you might as well choose Vivek. very likely outcome. Time trial challenge. Let me change my characters.
방해하지 마. 똑바로 서야 할 거. 걱정 마.
That was easy. Man, this team is so good. Last daily commission. Where's the commission? Oh, it's all over here. Now it's far. Oh, I see. He said that if you love Trump, you vote for me. That reminds me of, you guys remember when Biden said, if you vote for Trump, you ain't black? Do you guys remember that? Dude, I cannot believe that, like, people still do not hold that against him. That's like the craziest thing any president can say, like any presidential nominee. If you vote for the other guy, you ain't black. Like, can you? I can't believe Biden actually said that. That's crazy. If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. That's like one of the craziest things anyone can say. Like, if Trump said that, he'd be done. But of course, it was Biden who said that, and so the fact that people don't hold that against him, and they didn't even do so when he said it, just shows you that, like, yeah, like, Biden is not the nominee that will buck against the system, right? It's the other candidates, right? Like, Biden is the puppet of the regime, and unfortunately, useful idiots are too naive and easily manipulated to understand that. Yeah, I saw that. It was by George Prime on Twitter. He made a meme cartoon of Biden turning someone white because they didn't vote for him. Funny. He's such an old school racist. Yeah, but like, it's like people don't care because, again, it's like people don't actually have, like, a lot of people who think they do, like, have principles. They don't have principles when it comes to their voting patterns and their political beliefs. It's just whatever's most popular at the time and whatever's most culturally expedient and convenient. That's what people will parrot, right? And so that's why they're like, oh, like, evangelicals for Biden. It's like, if you're actually a Christian, there's no way in good conscience you would joyfully vote for Biden. Let's go, DJ! Welcome back, sub. Thank you. Appreciate you. How are you, DJ? Welcome. Well, the thing is, like, Norse Bola, I think people don't understand, like, people have a different view of what, like, right-wing and left-wing means, right? A lot of people think left-wing means, like, compassion and love and empathy and understanding, and right-wing means, like, bigotry and being rude and all that stuff, right? It's just terrible understanding of, like, political concepts in general.
이따가 조금 아플 거야. 창의의 약속. 똑바로 서야 할 걸. 기억했어. 반짝이는 순간. 퍼져라.
Where'd he go?
올림플 고리. 다 이따가 조금 부탁해. 등장.
He's dead.
어? 거의?
Only 14 months? How dare you unsub for any amount of time? Dude, I was so shocked Like, guys, I was actually so shocked that some of you guys were like continuously subbing for the past 6 months that I wasn't streaming. Like, what? That was crazy. Thank you guys so much. Like, when I started streaming yesterday, there were still 10 subs. I'm like, what the? Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw that video. AOC, like, it's like, what is, like, separation of church and state? It's so, like, so annoying. Like, the whole, just, again, it's just the whole parroting the same talking points without understanding the origin of that phrase, what that phrase actually means, and understanding, like, fundamentally what it means to legislate morality and what drives legislation, you know? They were bribing you to get back on Twitch. Well, the bribing worked. Guys, I was so, like, crazy because I'd get emails from, like, payouts from Twitch, and I'm like, how am I still getting payouts from Twitch? Like, I'm not even streaming. It's because a few of you guys are still subbing, so thank you guys. I appreciate it. I only almost unsub, but not gonna lie, I kept the faith. Dang. Non-prime sub too? That's crazy. Thank you, Slick Rick. Thank you. I'm so sorry, guys, but truly, I do believe that this is what I needed, and God was really teaching me a lot in this season, so thank you, guys. Thank you for your faith, and thank you for being so good to me, guys, when I've been neglecting you guys, so thank you. Link to SpongeBob's Kevin's back video. I'm glad you took a break, though. I think I really needed it, and you know, it's always really humbling to whenever it's like I realize that I truly always have more to learn and a lot more growing to do. 세상의 아름다움 느낄 수 있어. For sure. Thank you, Manny, for tuning in. Appreciate ya. Have a good one. Have a good one. Hey guys, what kind of content do you want me to like? What you want to see now on like my cultural and like political page? You know what I mean? Cause like I've been thinking I can definitely do reaction stuff. Because not like cheap reaction where I just watch it and then just like repost it and put my face on it, but like actually give insight as to what's wrong with certain videos and certain tweets. Oh, Arson, what's up, Arson? How you doing? Thanks for the follow. But like what other content do you want to see? Oh shoot. No.
이것이 바로 지혜의 전당이야. 손에 손잡고 심해 가호 부탁해. 애군 타파. 커져라. 닷 헐.
Oh!
정말.
You wrecked.
배를 끼쳤군.
Got wrecked. I'm okay. How are you? I'm doing well, Arson. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining. Oh, I forgot to pin a message. Guys, I made a VODs channel. And so be sure to like subscribe and check it out. And then if you ever miss a stream or want to watch a stream, you can watch it from here. So then I also get like watch hours instead of watching on Twitch, because I don't get anything if you watch it on Twitch. But yeah. Interview your mods. That would be fun. I think what the right wing needs right now is more people speaking about how the conservative side goes unbiblical. Yeah. 100%. I think so too. I think so too. Not as a means to like be like I'm better than them, but like, yeah, to like uplift them, like you said, encourage them, exhort them to do better, for sure.
반짝이는 순간 날 똑바로 서야 할걸? 이따가 조금 아플 거야. 우리 집에 놀러와.
Arsen, so I was looking for a bit and just curious, was it that you're right-wing and also religious? Yes, I'm Christian and I am conservative. But I was explaining earlier on the stream too that a lot of people say that like think that conservatism means like certain things like being bigoted and extremely closed-minded and harmful and hurtful to people and crass and harsh with their words. Like not necessarily, you know? Like for me, like my politics essentially comes down to like the basically keeping families together and allowing people to seek after God. And like that's the essence of my politics. And so whatever political philosophy or policy allows for that, I'm for, you know? So that's why again, like I'm not a huge proponent of capitalism because in the Industrial Revolution I believe was a net harm to families and society.
날씨가 정말 좋아. 같이
You're
걸을래?
conservative because of religion? Because of my religion, yeah. Because of my faith, right? Because my faith and Jesus informs, the Word of God informs everything that I do and believe. Because it is truly what brings life to people, and I do believe it is the truth. So, my conservative values come from that, like in terms of like conserving the family, conserving life, conserving good traditions that people for many, many years and generations have lived out. That's why I believe what I believe. Yeah. Vegeta Saiyan King, what's up? I'm curious. I'm sorry if this is an inappropriate question, but will you be voting for Trump this election year? Probably. I mean, who else is there to vote for? Like everyone else sucks. And Trump isn't the greatest either, but at least like he can actually like help steer America into a better direction than it is. It's like I just don't know who else to vote for. Yeah.
퍼져라. 올림플 고리. 좀 쉬어. 히, 기억했어. 거의 다. 이따가 조금 아플. 애군 타파. 등장. 온 세상을 따뜻하게. 기억했어.
Man, this Hyper Boom team's so fun. It's so strong. He's almost dead. Where is he? Hello?
올림플 고리.
Oh gosh.
이따가 조금 아플 거야. 지식을 너와 공유할게. 짜잔! 기억했어. 솟구쳐라. 부탁해. 똑바로 서야 할걸? 손에 손잡고. 번개의 힘을 정화한다.
Why is he dying?
거의 다.
Is he healing himself? Oh. Oh gosh.
올림플 고리.
Oh, he's dead. Nice. Nice. Nice, nice. Slick, thank you, Slick. Thank you. Banning the bots with inappropriate images. We like that here. We like to keep things chaste and appropriate, you know? Arsen, so I want to preface by saying I'm really middle ground. Don't give much label to politics. Just have a belief system. But why right wing? Is there anything on the left that you align with? Anything on the left? I would probably align. Thank you, Nagano. Appreciate it. Thank you. Everyone else, sub to the VODs channel if you haven't already. Anything on the left that I agree with, I would probably agree with them a little more about like economic policy, I think. And certain parts of foreign policy, I think I would agree with the left, like just broadly speaking. I'm not like a huge like pro-Palestine person either, or like pro-Israel. I'm a little more middle ground when it comes to that issue. But you know, a lot of people on the right wing can be very, very ardently pro-Israel, like blindly so. And then I think the left can also be pro-Palestine, but blindly so as well. But I think when it comes to first principles, like when it comes to the family, when it comes to order, when it comes to tradition, when it comes to things like that, I'm definitely, you know, I value those things, right? Like I value tradition versus progress. Like I think there's certain progress that are good and necessary, but I think there's a lot of like timeless tradition that we must observe, ageless wisdom that is a good thing to observe and hold on to. I think the family, the institution of the family, is the most fundamental political institution, and it is the essence of society. It is the building block of society, and preserving the family is so important. So that means a mother and a father with children, right? And tending to their God-given roles and their strengths, and also working on their weaknesses, inherent weaknesses in men as women. I believe that men and women are different. Oh, Anonymous Gifter, thank you so much for your gift us out to Vegeta Saiyan King. Oh my gosh. Anonymous Gifter, you're the best. Thank you. Really appreciate you. God bless you. But yeah, and so I believe that it's a good thing to do so, right? For like men to lead and provide and protect. Oh, Anonymous Gifter gave Arson another sub. Let's go. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you so much, Anonymous Gifter. Whoever you are, always know that even though you're anonymous here, you are not anonymous in the eyes of God. God knows you. God knows how many hairs are on your head. God knows every single thing about you, but he loves you and he rejoices over you. Thank you. And so as I was saying, I think, you know, men and women are different. I don't believe the lie that men and women are the same. Now, so because men and women are different, they have different inherent strengths and different inherent weaknesses. And so I do believe that men are called to lead and provide and protect, and women are called to nurture and help men, right? And I think in any healthy society, in every healthy family, like that's kind of shown. And I think everything that we see today, it's not even like only it's not only like the past few years, but just the past like 150 years. I think America has been going in a wrong direction. A lot of it was like due to economic policy. And I think, again, a lot of economic policy was terrible and it caused families to break apart, which I'm against. But yeah, like if you ask any good, healthy, sane, rational woman, what kind of guy do you want? Like no woman wants a man who like hides behind the woman and makes the woman do all, not only the manual labor, but all the leading, all the providing, and all the protecting, right? There's a reason why, for example, it's a very common thing for a woman not to be happy about or find not attractive a man who earns less money than she does, right? Or like, let's say, for example, you're driving together, you're on a date and you're driving together and then you get a flat tire, right? Like no woman is going to be like, okay, like happy that the man's like, okay, I don't know how to change the tire. Can you do it? Right? Because I think it's built into us and it's okay. It's a good thing. Well, I think, that's also semantics too, Arson. Like, it's a personal thing. While men can be structure, women can be nurture. I think it can have both, like a man who leads but also has time for kids' needs, and a nurturing woman that has leadership quality. Yes. That I talked about this earlier on the stream too, that men are essential. That's why the Industrial Revolution was a mistake, because for the first time in American history, but also broadly speaking, most of society, aside from war, men were always at home, teaching their sons how to be men and teaching and showing and loving their daughters how to be secure and to know what it means to find a good, worthy man who lives with honesty, dignity, and integrity and virtue. And so because the Industrial Revolution stripped men, fathers from the home, it actually resulted in a lot of brokenness. So fathers need to be there for their kids, 100%. Need to be present for their kids. And then a nurturing woman can have leadership qualities, absolutely, right? Because, like, if, for example, I believe the woman's primary calling is to, and like best strength is to make the home beautiful, right? And to tend to the home. So, like, in order to do that, you have to be able to lead and have leadership over your children, but also women, right? But I do believe that men are inherently designed to lead. And the reason why I say that is because not only is this scriptural, but also you see that throughout history. The greatest philosophers, the greatest warriors, the greatest leaders, the greatest artists, all of them have been men. And people say it's because of the patriarchy, because, you know, women were kept down intentionally in the past. But if women were so great, so much better than men in all of these areas, and they were called to lead, if they were designed to lead, then why didn't they? And all the, you know, I think the Dahomey tribe, there's the movie, The Woman King, right? About the Dahomey tribe.
자격증 시험은 다 정해진.
Yeah, they got completely obliterated. And so anything that was kind of like, you know, pro, like the futurist female type of stuff done in the past, they got completely obliterated by nations and armies led by men, because men are intrinsically designed to do so. They're designed to lead. It's also biologically too why, you know, men have 24-hour cycles and hormonal cycles, and women have 30-day hormonal cycles, right? Like things like that. And so, you know, people always blame the patriarchy in the past, but the reason why the patriarchy was able to exist was because men are just inherently stronger and more focused and are designed in their nature to lead, right? But then if that is perverted, then what happens is that you have men who abuse women, right? This is why everyone agrees, even on the left, they agree that if a man abuses a woman, it's a horrible thing. But no one really seems to care all that much if a woman abuses a man, because instinctively everyone knows that a man has more power over women. And so because of that, there's a responsibility on men to protect women and to provide for them and to honor them, and not to use that power to manipulate them and hurt them. And so, again, these are all intrinsic things and intuitive things that's built into our DNA. And I believe that God has built us for this. And so once we understand this, then we can live ordered, healthy lives. And obviously, like you said, Arsen, like there is like, you know, a little more fluctuation here and there, but men cannot be women and women cannot be men. So although there's like a spectrum of femininity versus masculinity, like, you know, I'm not a super macho guy, right? But I think there are still good masculine virtues that I can embody and I want to strive for, with, like, for example, discipline, with honor, with courage, right? These are not things where I have to be a super brawny, masculine, deep voiced man in order to desire to embody and strive to embody, right? And so that's essentially what I believe. I hope that's like, that cleared things out. Arsen, sorry if I'm like prodding or anything. It's just something I find really interesting. While I'm in a gray area but lean left, I'm really interested in civil conversation, the understanding of the thoughts of both sides. No, that's totally welcome here. Yes, absolutely. Totally welcome here. Again, yeah, it's totally welcome here. As long as I welcome disagreement as well, because it sharpens my mind, right? And I think it's edifying to those who are reading and listening. In a conversation where there is disagreement. But for me, the biggest thing for me is like when there is disagreement, I believe there should be charity. There needs to be goodwill. And I think a lot of the times with internet conversations and disagreements and debates, it's always just smacking people over the head and being just like bludgeoning people, and just like, it's just terrible. And so I really do welcome it. And so you're not prodding or anything. This is what I talk about a lot on this stream. I like to talk about, you know, faith and politics and just philosophy in general, although I'm not the most well-equipped, and I'm always learning too. This is like what I believe, and I love sharing about what I believe for sure. But yeah, hopefully that clears things out, you know? So like people call me, sometimes like they see, someone will listen to what I'm saying, and they say you're a misogynist because you believe that women shouldn't have the same opportunities as men. Well, for me, it's like I do believe that, like, in the same way, men shouldn't have the same opportunities as women, because I believe men and women are inherently different. And actually, I do view women very highly, because I view women highly, I believe that they should be exalted and uplifted and elevated into their God-given role. and where they excel the most. And I don't think a woman's value becomes any greater, and a woman is more valuable if they can do the same thing men do. I do believe there's certain roles and arenas and areas for men, and I think there's certain roles and arenas and areas for women. And I believe that there is a lot of crossover because we're all humans, right? But there are distinct roles for men and distinct roles for women that taps into our inherent strengths and weaknesses that I think results in an ordered, well-functioning society and healthy families. And that's kind of like how I see things. Gee, and I remember in my psychology course in college, my teacher got mad at me for saying that men are physically stronger, providing a hump for the women who stayed home to tend to children and less physically demanding tasks. She sent me a whole file about how gender rules were wrong. I dropped that course right away. Yeah, I mean, it's like that's the thing, you know, because like for example, women inherently are nurturing biologically too. Biologically, they are so much more nurturing than men, but also in their temperament too. This is why women are more emotional. And this is something that, again, most people understand. Like you look at the most popular TikToks and Reels, it talks about like woman tendencies and men tendencies, because I think there's a lot of truth to that. And now obviously there are exceptions to the rule, but exceptions do not debunk a rule or disprove a rule. Exceptions actually prove the rule because they are exceptions for a reason. Someone like me, I'm more on the side of knowing where I find okay, where else something else none of my business, so I'm interested in it. My fiance's brother is a pastor, I think, and there are times where I'll just listen to his point of view just to hear other sides. That's good, and I think that's good. It's like, I believe that you should never be so open-minded where your brain falls out and you just kind of listen, just accept everything as truth. But I also do believe that there is goodness and merit in having humility, understanding that there's so much out there, that there's so many things that we don't understand and know, and there's always more to know and understand, right? And I think that's really, really, really important, especially when navigating this current climate, just having humility and understanding there's always so much more to learn. At least for me, if a woman wants to go hunt and camp or do typical men tasks, by all means, it don't bother me. It's like, but that's, I used to believe that too, where it's like, oh, like, as long as you don't infringe on me, like, I'm okay. But the reality is we live in a society, right? And the reality is, like, everything that we do and everything that we say does have an effect one way or another on another person. Arkin, no worries, no worries. Hope your doctor appointment went well. But thanks for being here. How are you? But yeah, like, and so a woman's lifestyle, for example, let's say, for example, a woman wants to go hunt and camp and do typical men tasks, right? Yeah, like, they can go do that. Yeah, they can theoretically go do that, right? But it's like, what is the benefit of doing so, and how does that enrich others? And this is where, like, my Christian beliefs come in too, where our gifts and our talents and our desires and the things that we do should be of service to others. That because we don't live in a vacuum. And then so I think this is, again, where I disagree with a lot of proponents of capitalism, where they're like, oh, I want to do whatever is best for me, and then whatever I do is best for me, then it'll theoretically be good for society. That just doesn't work that way. And so even let's say for example, a woman wants to do that, right? Okay, that's fine. There are women who've been like that throughout history, but the vast majority of women won't want to do that. And then so, but I think the problem is with society today is that they teach women that, like, for example, if you want to go hunt and go do camp, that's actually a good thing, and they encourage it. They encourage women to go more into STEM, more into politics, more into all these areas where most women don't want to. And then, you know, so many women find themselves in this field because they feel so much pressure from society and so much value and worth because of what society and a lot of the establishment has decreed as good things for women. And if you're not doing these things, you're not living up to woman empowerment, and you're less than other women, then they're miserable. They're miserable, and they're lonely, and they're miserable. And you know, you see the attacks on, like, stay-at-home moms, where it's like, if you're just a stay-at-home mom with no other, you know, occupation, then you're seen as wasting your time. Whereas, like, it's ridiculous because it's so hard to raise children. And then so many working mothers, it's like, okay, but you're literally spending money and paying strangers to raise your kids for you, like that doesn't make any sense to me. That makes like no sense to me. But DJ, what do you think about women like Margaret Thatcher? Do you think it was wrong for her to be a leader? No, like here's the thing. It's like I think in general, like women shouldn't be leaders because men are called to be leaders and women are not. Now, that doesn't mean women can't be leaders. You see women leaders all throughout the Bible, right? And God raises up specific women to lead in times of hardship and in times of crisis, for sure. There are certain times where there's a lack of men and good men. But that doesn't mean that all women should now do that. And now all women are called to be leaders, right? Like, I just think about Joan d'Arc. Great, amazing woman of God, led an army, like, and got killed, right? But, like, it's like she, I believe, was called out by God specifically. And I think Margaret Thatcher was also called out by God specifically for a time that she needed to be. In the same way Esther was, in the same way Deborah was in the Bible. But a lot of the times when there's a woman leader or women are called to lead, is because I believe that men are ill-equipped and men are not doing they're not doing their role. And a lot of the times, you know, if I think John Calvin said this. Well, I don't know. John Calvin said that when God judges a nation, he appoints wicked leaders. But also I believe that like if God is judging a nation, then women will lead instead of men. And if that's the vast preponderance of society, like if it looks like women leading, so women wearing the pants in the relationship, then yes, it's disordered and it's gonna be very, very it's disordered. And because it is disordered, people will be miserable. And that's just a reality because it goes against our nature. And I believe grace does not eliminate nor destroy nature, it restores our nature, right? And it says biblically too that you know, God saw that Adam needed a helper, and so he created Eve. And it says in 1 Corinthians 2, like Paul says this too, that like man is the glory of God, but woman is the glory of man, and women like help men. And there's a saying that says, behind every great man is a great woman, and I think that's very true. But like you just look at like right-wing politicians. Like this is just a perfect example. Like any prominent right-wing woman politician, like whenever they get into politics, right? Like they always scandals, divorce. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Christine Nolan. I mean, it's like it is what it is, because that's what happens. Because I just don't think women are meant to lead. And then once you do so, unless you're specifically called out by God, I believe that it results in a lot of disorder. And it's not because I have the desire, like, well, I think men are so much better than women. No, absolutely not. But I do believe that men have a role and women have a role. And it's best when those roles and those strengths that women and men inherently have are encouraged, not discouraged. In our society today, it's always encouraged in media when like men are more feminine and women are more masculine, right? You saw the thing with Kristen Stewart, and you see men with like Timothy Chalamet, whatever you say his name. It's like, oh, like if you're more feminine, then like, oh, you're good. Like you're a man, you're a true man because you're not scared to tap into your femininity. And then for women, it's like, oh yeah, being more masculine is good because you're smashing the toxic patriarchy. And I just think that messaging has not resulted in any good fruit. Look at the relations between men and women right now. It's at an all-time low. Men don't trust women don't trust men. There's a lot of beef. The political beliefs are completely divided too. It's not resulting in any good fruit, and it's not actually bringing people together. And so I think a lot of times when I think about the merits of any sort of proposition or belief system, I always look at the fruit, and the fruit is very important. Arsene, I get made fun of for being more like a hippie in the sense I'm very go with the flow as long as it's not genuinely harmful to people. But I think it's really open and while as a human being, I do believe you should explore options, right? Time's so temporary if you want to explore the world and not start a family, but it's okay to be a stay-at-home role. I think it's okay. It's really do what calls your soul, but show acceptance towards other with the life choices. I know what you mean. I don't think that's like a terrible position to hold for sure, Arsene, but I think, it's because I believe that there is inherent good in, for example, having children and carrying on your legacy, right? Because like you said, time is short. And then so there is a time where you're single, where you can do things more independently for sure, but every human, it's ingrained inside of us. We all desire connection, right? And the greatest form of connection that God has created us for is family, right? Like our literal blood, right? In Korean, this is a phrase called pitjul, like bloodline, right? Like it's literally like having your own bloodline where you are there for each other no matter what. You guys share the same name. There is such strength in that, and there's so much meaning and purpose in that. And I think a lot of people think they don't want children, but then at the end of the day, it's like we are only here because thousands of generations of people have decided that it is a good thing to pass down the gift of life to everyone. And I think it is a good thing for us to hold on to that, take on that mantle, and also pass down the gift of life to to the next generation as well. And in doing so, it's hard, it's difficult, it's not easy. It would be much easier to just live for yourself, but there's meaning and there's purpose, and it's really fulfilling, and it is a good thing. Now, obviously, of course, if you are someone who hates children and you're not in the right mindset to have children, it would actually be very harmful to have children. But then the solution isn't to say, you know what, you just don't have children. It is to say, it is to encourage them to really work on their character, change their perspective, find God, and then, you know, desire to have children. Because at the end of the day, it's like, no one's gonna remember you for, like, I mean, yes, people will remember you for your accomplishments, but at the end of the day, like, I don't think anyone on the deathbed is desiring, like, what are the stock prices of the things I've invested in. They're gonna be wondering, like, where's my daughter, where's my son, where's my wife, where's my husband, where's my family, where are my loved ones. And I think that's very important. This is where, like, tradition comes in, where I'm like, this is a tradition that's been observed by, like, hundreds and thousands of years of people before us, and for us to think that, like, we're so much more enlightened to think that, like, alternative lifestyles are much better. There's a reason why tradition exists, right? Tradition persists because it is good for people. And that's why I'm not left-wing, because I don't believe that we should intentionally depart from all tradition and all things traditional are bad. I actually think that a lot of things traditional are good. Now, there are certain traditions that are unhealthy, that we have to progress away from. But first, we have to understand and consider the merits of that tradition. Yeah. Yeah. Arson. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, like, adoption is a great option too, for sure. But, like, that's still, like, I do believe that every man is called to father and every woman is called to mother. Now, for most people, for 99% of people, that looks like having your own biological children. But I think for some people, it's gonna be either to be celibate and not have children, or to adopt your children, right? Adopt children. But then for those who don't marry, like, you still have an obligation to tend to and care to the next generation, because there's meaning and purpose in that, and I think we are designed to do that. But again, like, because that exception exists, I don't believe that exception should be pushed to the vast majority of people, because the vast majority of people fall into the rule where, like, they want to get married and they want to have children, or they should have children, because it is a good thing. For personally, I would never, if I ever do decide to have a kid, I would adopt. My perspective is I grew up with an abusive dad and a mom who was raised in foster care. I would love to be the father I never had, would love to give a child a good home and give them a fighting chance at life. Absolutely, Arson. I think that is a wonderful, wonderful desire, because, you know, that stops, like, a lot of trauma and a lot of abuse it's generational, right? It's a lot of generational cycles, and a lot of, like, family hurt that was not tended to. And I think it is a very noble and honorable desire that you want to be the father you never had, and give your child a good home and give them a good chance at life, because that is exactly what I'm talking about, Arson. Like, that is, I believe, a very conservative belief, to desire that for your children and for the next generation, and to be the father you never had, right? Like, that's my desire too, because I love my father to death, but I grew up without him in the home because he was working in Korea all the time. And that was really harmful. That was really hard for me and my family, especially my mother, but definitely me and my brother and my sister growing up. And so for me, like, I I don't want to make that mistake, right? I want to be there for my kids. I want to be present for my children as much as possible. And by no means was my dad abusive. And I'm so sorry to hear that your dad was abusive, Arson. And, you know, but like, yeah, like, but we can be that change, right? And that is the beautiful thing about the gift of life that we have, because now we get the chance to change the story for the next generation, for our next generation, right? For our progeny, for our children, even if you decide to adopt, right? To love that child, to have that child not suffer through the terrible foster care system, which I am a huge proponent of reforming and spending a lot of our time and energy into, but instead people are so energetic and focused on other dumb issues. But yeah, absolutely. So Arson, that's a great desire, and I think that's a really good thing. So I totally agree with you there. I'm totally on board and totally see eye to eye with you there, because it is really up to us, right? And that's why, again, like, the left, I think, gets it right when it comes to like generational, you know, hurt and trauma and things like that. Like, that thing is, those are real, right? When you think about, especially when it comes to like racial grievance politics, a lot of talk is about like black people, how they were enslaved, Jim Crow, all these things. Yes, of course, those are terrible things. But the great thing is now, right now, in this life, we have the chance to not pass that down to our children and make things right. And I think that is a awesome thing, where we have that chance and that privilege to do so. Every child deserves to live and grow in a family that loves and cherishes them. 100%. That I will never ever compromise on that, and that is a belief that I will carry to the grave, that every child deserves to live and grow in a family that loves and cherishes them. Yes, absolutely. The reason why we have so much brokenness right now is we have fatherlessness, negligent parents, and abusive parents. Like, that is literally the reason why we're in the mess that we're in right now in America, where people are so miserable, people are so broken, families are so separated. Like, I remember growing up with, like, you know, kids in school, and kids would always talk about their stepdad and stepmom, and I'm like, what? Like divorce is so rampant too, and it's a mess. And
또 고민거리가
like,
생긴 거야?
divorce really is traumatic for children, especially when they're so young. And so it really is up to us to break that cycle and cultivate loving, healthy homes. And in order to do so, like, men and women have to be in the role that God has given for them, or else it will be disordered. It will be. My kids will never be backpackers. 100%. My kids will be kids who don't touch, like I'd be fine with my kids playing video games, but nothing online, right? Because I don't want them potentially like playing with strangers and whatnot. Like, I would play with them, but you know, like, not being raised on iPads, but being raised like I was raised, like going out playing, building things, creating things, interacting with kids, right? The reason why so many kids are so, especially in Gen Z and the next generation, are so awkward is because their main form of communication was this: digital. It wasn't even talking to people. It wasn't reading their expressions, their body language, none of that. That's why a lot of them, if you notice a lot of young kids these days and teenagers, a lot of them have lisps, because they weren't taught properly how to speak, because most of their communication was, you know, through digital means. And so instead of saying like math, they say math, or because it's easier to say math. Or instead of like spoon, they spoon because it's easier. Like, yeah, it's a problem. Maths. What do you think of interracial marriages, adoptions? I think, well, for me, it's like, I have no business telling other people who or they should or should not marry, but I'm of the inclination that people just should stick with their own. And the reason why I say that is because I value preserving cultural heritage. And so that, like, so for example, like, if you get into an interracial marriage, then you're going to marry someone of a different culture and heritage, and people might see that as beautiful, because it's like, oh, like, there are different people coming together and understanding each other. But then, like, your children don't look like either one of you, because they come from such different DNA. And then on top of that, then it's like, what kind of culture do you want to pass down to children? Like, children, like, it is so hard for them to hold on to two different cultural identities. and then at that point, and then they will marry someone who is of a different ethnic background, and then eventually there's no cultural heritage to pass down to your children, and I think that can actually be harmful for the child. And and then when it comes from a net societal standpoint, I think it can lead to just essentially what globalists want, what like a lot of the globalists want, the global regime is like a homogenous monoculture of people with nothing to root them. And I think that's a problem, because if we don't know where we come from, we won't know where we're going. And I think it's really, like in Korean it's like 안타까워. So it's like very like, it's very sad like that would happen. And so for me, like I do want to marry a Korean woman and I want to have them be Korean. Now, when it comes to adoption, I do believe that as much as possible, people of the same ethnicity and culture should adopt a person of that same ethnicity. Now, I'm not saying that's a hard rule, because I'd rather kids like get out of the terrible foster care system and be raised by people of a different ethnicity 100% and who are loving and kind. But I think when it comes to family cohesion, it is the best, because it's so hard for, like, for example, white parents to teach a Korean child like Korean heritage. Like, it's near impossible. And so I think as much as possible that should be arranged. But like, you should never, like, let's say for example, have a Korean child be adopted into a Korean family who's abusive versus a Korean child being adopted into a white family, right? Because I'd rather much have the latter if the white family is loving and kind, versus like a Korean child being adopted into a Korean family who's abusive. But the optimal scenario would be a Korean child being adopted into a Korean family who's loving and cares for them, right? And so that's how I feel. That's how I see things. Now, obviously, like, it's not a hard rule where I'm like there are people who say interracial marriage is sinful. Like, there's nowhere in the Bible where it suggests that, and I don't think that's like a theological belief of any church father or theologian in the past. So I would never go that far. But I think it is optimal to marry of your own ethnicity and culture, right? Because, you know, people say ethnicity and culture are different. They are different if you're generations removed from your native homeland. But I do think throughout history, up until like 60, 50 years ago, like, that's how people understood cultures and heritage and nationality and ethnicity. Ethnicity is a new concept because nationality was inherently tied to your language and your culture, because that's where you come from. That's the people you come from. And that's why, for me, like, I'm so against immigration, like the vast preponderance of immigration. In the same way, I'm not only against like immigration. I'm not against I'm not against like only against like mass immigration, but I'm also against like just people moving everywhere and just moving everywhere. Like again, because it breaks apart families. Like, that's essentially what it comes down to for me. For me, like, being apart from my grandfather and my grandmother growing up, like, that was hard. And I didn't realize how bad it was until I grew up. That like, oh, like, it would have been so much better if I knew my grandfather and grandmother and had that intergenerational relationship and I could learn from their wisdom. And so essentially it's a really, really like lengthy topic to talk about because it is a very sensitive topic. But I hope like no one like misinterpreted what I said or like anything like that. Because essentially like it really just comes down to, I want to keep families together as much as possible. At least personally, I've seen some really beautiful to see both traditions come together. Yeah, but like, that's the thing. It's like, why does that make it beautiful? I think, you know, especially in today's day and age, they're always talking about diversity is our strength. But like, why is that our strength? It's never been a strength for the past like thousands of years of history, for human history. So then why is it a strength now? And I think it's a beautiful thing when people of different cultures and backgrounds come together and can be united. But for what reason? Right? And what reason is that? And I think that's a question that we have to ask. because like let's say like two different cultures come together and get married, and then what is the fruit of marriage? The fruit of marriage is always children. And then so if the fruit of marriage is always children, then like how do the children benefit from that? They can benefit for sure, like learning from different cultures and different languages maybe, and different like backgrounds and things like that. But like what can they pass down to their children? And that's like a question I think I'm still wrestling through and I'm still wondering about. But I think ideally, like for me, like not only am I like not only do I just like I want to preserve my Korean heritage, that's why I want to marry Korean, but like I'm just most attracted to Koreans. So there's that too. But yeah. I think a person can always look into ethnic history as adults, so it's not probably essential to be raised in it. But like the thing is, like I believe that ethnicity is inherently it was inherently tied to culture, and the separation of that has resulted in a lot of people not understanding where they come from, and then because they don't understand where they come from, they don't have roots. They don't have things that root them, right? And because they don't have things that root them, they're easily tossed to and fro by cultural waves. If you have strong roots, then you know, no matter what happens, no matter what winds come at you, whatever storms come at you, no matter what the cultural trends tell you to believe, like you'll be rooted, right? And that's not only in family, but in Christ, right? But that's why I believe no matter what happens, no matter what you believe about politics, like Christ is the answer, because he is the one who if you build your life and your house and everything about you on the solid rock, the unshakable foundation that is Jesus Christ, then nothing can move you, right? But just because you do have faith, I do believe it is a good thing. Like for example, like I'm very proud of my Korean heritage, and I want to hold on to that, and I want to preserve it, right? And so I think that's a good desire, and I don't think it should be shamed upon. And I think most people, again, inherently understand this too. This is why like people always celebrate like their History Month, or their like, you know, like Black History Month and Asian American Pacific Heritage Month, right? And you know, Hispanic Heritage Month and all things, because people like to hold on to where they come from, and I think that's fine. I think that's a fine thing. All right. Anyways, good talks, guys. Good talks. Thank you so much for asking questions, Arson. Thank you so much for you know, posing those questions, because it's good. It's good because I don't always like talking to people who agree with me, and I like to share what I believe honestly and thoughtfully to people who may not have heard it or may disagree, you know? Anywho, I did all my dailies for Genshin, right? Okay. Yeah. Alrighty. Alright. Alrighty, I gotta go, and so before I go, I will share the verse of the day like we always do, and then I shall get out of here. Daniel 2:27-28. Daniel replied, "No wise man, enchanter, magician, or diviner can explain to the king the mystery he has asked about, but there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries." Amen. Daniel spoke the ageless truth to King Nebuchadnezzar when he wanted his dream interpreted. The question for us is straightforward. Do we believe what Daniel said? What is the bedrock of our faith in uncertain times? I just talked about that. Who knows where all the upheaval, tumult, and uncertainty are truly heading? In whom can we find the solution to our most perplexing problems? Where can our hearts find comfort in times of political upheaval and conflict? For Daniel and his friends, there's one solid and accurate answer: the Lord God of Israel. It wasn't in the so-called wise teachers or sages of the day. It wasn't in the religions of the East. It wasn't in the super spiritualists. It was, and still is, the Lord God alone. Amen. He is our rock, and he is our solid foundation. And I hope that everyone listening right now on the stream, and maybe in the future, if you're watching a VOD, that you remember this truth, that truly the Lord is sovereign, and he is your rock, and he is your salvation. All right. Thank you all so much. Oh, by the way, please, if you have not already, subscribe to. Oh, let's go 11 subscribers. Subscribe to my VODs channel. Just get a little more exposure. And the videos are slowly uploading. And it should be all updated by tomorrow, if not the day after tomorrow. So yeah. All right. Thank you all so much. God bless you guys. Have a great evening. Have a great Tuesday evening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Let me know in the Discord if you guys want me to play any games. Today was just chill, chatting and playing Genshin. But yeah. Yes, Slick. Yeah, thankfully Twitch was working this time, for sure. For sure. All right. That's it for today. Peace out, guys. See you tomorrow.